Hi, everyone. Welcome to Brand Boutique Elite. Be sure to subscribe to Brand Boutique Elite on your podcast of choice. We meet with different entrepreneurs every week and we share their stories of success and their tips on how they got to where they are right now. Today, we have a special guest, my friend Gilbert Saguid, and he is going to share how he got into supporting veterans in creating their own businesses. So he works with a variety of different veterans and helps them, figure out franchise opportunities so that they can become entrepreneurs. He also helps people that are working, 9 to 5 jobs be able to transition out of those jobs into their own businesses and their own paths down that road. So, Gilbert, thank you so much for being on here today.
Thank you, Farhanas. I'm really excited to be here.
So, although you have several years of military experience, you decided to start a couple of businesses and support veterans in their journey. So tell us a little bit about your story and how you got started and why you decided that this is what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I'm originally from Arizona, and when I got out of high school, I knew that, college really wasn't the right route for me. And so I enlisted in the Navy. I wanted to go see the world, I wanted to travel, I wanted to give back to this country. So, I was a submarine mechanic, I rose the ranks, became an officer. And then, after serving 10, 11 years in the military, I knew that I wanted to, start my life in the civilian world. And what I knew was, and what most military veterans know, is either go to school or go get a job. And what I did was I got a job. So I worked in the tech industry, rose the corporate ladder, but there was still something missing for me. And what I discovered was it was me being able to live my life on my own terms. And business ownership was that solution. So I was able to start a business on the side while I was working in technical sales. I found my clients were my friends, the people I worked with, who I served with. I helped them find other veterans to work for them and by starting a recruiting business. And when I was at a job fair, I ran into a franchise consultant or a broker who was pretty much like a franchise recruiter and realized that there's such a thing where you can help other people start businesses. And that really was my passion, right? Because every time I talk to a veteran in getting a job, I'm always thinking in the back of my mind, why don't you go start a business? Have the time freedom and all the opportunities that I have. And that's how I got into franchise brokering.
Cool. So, what are some of the things that you feel like people say to you when they come to you? Like, what are some of the problems that they're having? Like, what are some of the troubles that they want to get off their chest when, they're nervous about starting a business, or how do you help them and support them in this process?
Yeah. So what I really like to get into is their huge pain point, right, in their lives. So I go actually into a deeper level into understanding what their needs are and their wants versus, oh, I just I want to start a Subway or something like that, right? Because there really is a deep-seated pain point that they have that made them even just think about business ownership, whether that be, I'm just tired of I'm just tired of working so much and working so hard to make other people rich. Or I'm just tired of working so hard and not having the relationships I want and the time that I want with my family and friends and things like that. And that really is a common thing, right? I talk to a lot of veterans, either coming straight out of the military, but a lot more that have gotten their first, second, or third career after the military, and they're just not fulfilled. And they're using the same energy and commitments and work ethic that they did in the military to be successful, but there's still something missing. And so what's great is I get to know them at a deeper level, and then I do my magic and use my expertise and my skills and my network to figure out the right franchise business for them.
Okay, so tell me why veterans? I know that you yourself are veterans, but why do you want to focus on this particular group?
So there's a statistic from the Inc. magazine article in 2016, and it stated that in a study, there was almost 45% of World War II veterans that became business owners. And a lot of that was because there was government incentives to be a business owner. A lot of them started the mom and pop shops that all of a sudden became, these huge businesses like Domino's and other large companies. But for us post 9/11 veterans, there's only 4.5% of us veterans that became business owners. And so my commitment is really to that shift that statistic, right? To be able to show, just like myself when I got out of active duty, that there is a third option, not just school or work, but hey, there's an opportunity for you to be a business owner.
Nice. I love that. I love that commitment. And that is so interesting that, there's such that discrepancy in, 45% to 4.5. That's such
Mhm.
a small number. And I would assume that the population size of veterans probably has increased in that time.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, and a lot of it is just education. That's a big part of what I do is to educate more veterans. And even my goal is to actually educate a lot more even active duty military members, maybe their first year in or second year in, that to show them, hey, let me get my stuff in order so that I can position myself that when I get out of the military, I am going to be able to get approved for a business loan, that I can be approved to start a business. Really just set yourself up for success.
Yeah, for sure. That makes complete sense. We in our conversations before we kind of discussed why veterans, and what skills do they have from their experience that is translatable into entrepreneurship. So, like, share with us what some of those things are, because I think that, you know, individuals, we may not see our strengths or may not see our experiences and how they're translatable into other types of things. Like, we're so used to doing this thing, and we don't see like those how they can be like those strengths and those skill sets that we've learned from other things can be translated. So what are some of those skill sets that veterans have that they learn from being in the military that is translatable into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, a lot of it is the soft skills that we learned and developed while in the military, starting out from boot camp. And so, why veterans are a perfect fit for franchising is because, the ability to work with a team, that's huge, right? Whether it be within your team members in your company or with a franchise organization and with your customers, that's huge. Another big thing is the ability to follow standard operating procedures. Our franchises live and die by SOPs, because a franchise is basically somebody who had a good idea, started a business, found success, and wrote all the directions on how to do it. And now they're selling that whole process to other people to do it in a different location. Well, hey, we're built like that in the military. We go off of standard operating procedures because they've been tried and proven, and it's just a matter of doing that safely. And that's what business ownership can do. And then the last thing is just the ability to be mission focused and to be able to accomplish a mission. That's huge, right? And it's just ingrained in us that it doesn't matter what it is. We're thrown in danger and everything, right? But when it comes to business ownership, there's a huge risk there, right? In failing in business and losing all your money, huge risk, right? But we learned that in the military that how to mitigate our risk. Yes, we can still do dangerous things, but there's ways that we can mitigate the risk. And franchising is a great way to do that. So all that, with the soft skills and everything is why veterans are really poised to be great franchise business owners.
Super cool. So well, you shared a little bit why franchises over like, just starting your own business, because there is that guidebook. But tell us a little bit more, like, why franchise over just starting your own business from scratch?
Yeah, I know that's great. That's a great question. I talked about mitigating a risk, right? I started my recruiting business from scratch, but what I realized that, I knew the people that I would be working with. That's why I was able to find clients right away. So when you talk about means, and there's Dr. Sarah Saravathi from the Darden School of Business, she has this research paper and studies about what makes entrepreneurs entrepreneurial. And in her studies, what she found that successful business owners have three means. And that's, who they know, which I knew a lot of people in the industry and my colleagues. So I had, people that would work with me. What I know, that's huge, right? I knew recruiting, I knew technical aspects, I knew everything in regards to recruiting. So that's why I was able to become more successful, and who I am. I'm a very driven person. I'm very passionate about helping others. And so all those three things allowed me to be more successful in business ownership.
Cool. So, those items. So, but the difference, like why why not? So,
Oh, sorry, I didn't answer your question. So what franchises do for especially brand new business owners is they automatically give you those three means, if that makes sense, right? So a lot of people fail in business because they might be passionate about something or have an idea, but they don't have the means of knowing the right connections and the right people to have your business be profitable, right? Or they may not know a lot about this specific subject or industry. So a lot of times they'll fail, right? But with franchising, some people call it a business in a box, but they do really have systems and networks and a lot of things to have you be successful, even up to the point where you can have, there's some franchises that provide coaches where they're going to be there right next to you on a weekly basis, giving you coaching calls on how you can be successful with your franchise.
Yeah, and I think that is great because what you're saying about starting your own business and a franchise, literally it's because the franchise gives you a plan. They give you a business plan, they give you a marketing plan, and they give you that research. So any of my clients, when we're working together, I always want to start them off with that plan. It's like, what is this marketing plan? And then doing the research, like finding, who our perfect customer is, who we need to connect with and partner with, what our competitors are doing. But with the franchises, they've already kind of formulated all of that. So you don't need to do that research. Because without that, you're saying that businesses fail and the franchises are providing all of that kind of for you. So you could be passionate about something, go into that and have the step-by-step guide on how to really actually, get in there and do the doing.
Exactly. But here's the thing. There's thousands of franchise brands that are out there, right? And my job as a franchise broker is to find the good ones. Not only to find the good ones that have a good background, like litigation wise, bankruptcies, people are sticking around, but also that it's a perfect fit for whoever I'm working with, because that's key, right? So I do look for the ones that they are going to provide you that continued support. They're not just going to throw the book at you and say, go run with it. Because there's a lot of people that they do need that coaching, that support. Yes, they have the know-how to be successful and the skills and the work ethic, but sometimes there's certain things that they may not know that they don't know, and a coach and support from a franchise will provide that. And that's what I look for.
Yeah, so I love the story you were sharing with me about your two clients in Texas that, the husband and the wife found a franchise opportunity that really would work for both of their interests. So share a little bit about that story, because I really think that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. I actually I love this couple. They're I always build a personal connection with my clients because it's important. It's a long process and it's a huge commitment investing in a business. So I want to make sure that I'm there, hip to hip with them as they grow and start this. So my newest clients, they're an Army officer, served his country, worked in corporate America for a while, and is just really looking to pivot, right? And his wife also the same thing. She's created a very successful consultancy company, and they're just looking for something more that I was able to uncover, such as finding their passions. She loves interior design. She's getting a certificate. His passions, he likes building things, and he wants an opportunity to be able to grow and expand. They're not looking for a small mom and pop shop. They want to be able to take over a territory because they have high goals. And so it took a lot of work to really find those passions and the commitments. And I was able to find them a business, and they're getting pretty close. And it's really exciting to see them because you can see their eyes light up on how excited they are about being able to start something that's theirs, that they're also excited about actually doing the work in their business.
Yeah, that's super cool. It's really great. Like, so I think a lot of times too, really figuring out what it is. There's a ton of people that are like, oh, we love that you help businesses and, we want to create our own business. And I'm like, okay, well, what is it that you want to do? And they're like, well, I don't know yet. Like, I think it'd be great to own my own business, but I'm scared to take the risk and I don't know actually what I should be doing. And so I think with you, how you kind of work with somebody to really look at what their goals are, what capacity they have and, what their interests are and like doing that research and finding the right fit really takes a lot off of their plate.
Oh, absolutely. Because I have access to over 800 different franchises that I can place my clients with. So it really is a skill and a lot of work to be able to narrow it down to at least four, right? And then be able to explain to them all the benefits and the pros and cons and allow them to self-select which one is the best fit for them. But my goal is that their first presentation, they're going to be able to pick one of them out of them, one franchise out of the selection. But I go into their strengths, their business acumen, what they actually like doing, what they don't like doing, because hey, they might be really excited about, I don't know, Subway sandwiches, right? And be excited about a restaurant. But when it comes down to what they really want is, hey, I just want a business where I can just have a general manager running it. It has good cash flow. I can have more time freedom with my family, but it's a very simplistic business. And that's what it came down to. I'm like, oh yeah, there's a lot of opportunities there. It doesn't have to be something that they enjoy eating or whatever it is, but it all depends. Everybody is very different, and that's what I get to learn about them.
What are some of the things that you see that holds people back from starting a franchise or some of the problems that like people face?
Yeah, so some of the challenges and things that hold people back, what I've seen with my clients, a lot of my veterans that haven't found a career after the military, a lot of times they're very hesitant to go to business ownership. And though, just to be kind of funny about it, is the way I see it is just like myself, they didn't get punched in the face enough in corporate America to have that pain point, right? So really like, okay, so when you don't know what's available there, the safe route is, okay, I'm gonna go get a job and get a consistent paycheck, right? But for us veterans that have worked in corporate and realized that we wanted something more, we're more motivated to go explore business ownership, right? Another thing that's, first off the bat is, these businesses can range between $100 to $200,000, even more. My service-based businesses that I focus on are that amount. So in order for you to get an SBA loan to get accepted, you do have to have a certain liquid capital amount and also credit rating. So that's also something that stops people. But mostly really is just being able to take that leap of faith. Do you have that pain point where you're going to be motivated to say, yes, the risk is worth it. I am going to start a business because that's what I want in my life.
Are there any like SBA veteran based loans that people can apply for to support them in this?
The SBA used to offer a veteran friendly loan, but they don't have that anymore. So really what most veterans or my clients go for is the SBA Express loan. And it's a $150,000 or less loan. And what it is just, it allows you to go through the process a lot faster. And that's the only difference, right? Not necessarily incentives with interest rates or anything like that. It's just more the timing of being approved.
Got it. So, can people start a franchise and, have a job? So, like, if they, say somebody does have their 9 to 5 job and they want to kind of stay in that and with that security, but they do want to open up a business and kind of move into that space, is that possible?
Absolutely. So there's three types of franchise businesses. There is owner operator, where you're working in it full time. You're in it. There's semi-passive, where you're working on it part time. So you can still have a day job, and then you have maybe a production manager or something like that running your crew. And then there's the completely passive, where you're pretty much just like a silent investor, where the franchise organization is helping you find a location, helping you run and manage your managers and the whole nine. So it all depends on what your goals are. And a lot of that also has to be how capitalized you are. Because if you are going to be hiring a full-time manager and things like that, then you have to, you got to think about how much you're going to be paying them in your initial investment.
Cool. So in that scenario, are they kind of doing more of that last scenario? Is the franchise company doing more to support you in that, and you're just overseeing it?
Yeah. So I know several like fully passive businesses where you actually pay them a service fee to be able to run your business. So there's different tiers of management. They are going to help you find your general manager, and then they're going to manage your general manager. And so they'll work with you to just look over your goals, the KPIs, the statistics of how your business is doing. But you really aren't going to be there managing your GM. It's really the franchise organization doing that. And that's a fully passive business.
Cool. And so somebody could definitely have like a 9 to 5 job or even another business and have that too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a great alternative for people who aren't ready to take that leap of faith. Because, there's some people that have a lot of financial obligations and commitments to their family. So being able to invest in a business where you can do it passively or semi-passively it is a great opportunity for you to eventually step aside and see success in a business so that you can make that rational decision to quit your job and do this full time. And there are people that do that, a lot of people that do that.
So what are some of the qualities or the things that people have done to be successful, like in running their franchise, setting up their franchise? What are some characteristics or actionable items that you've seen as a trend in being successful when you go down this route?
Yeah. So first thing first is having a vision and a long-term goal. That's important, especially with the franchises working with their new franchisees. If your goal is to quit your job in a year, they'll set you up with a business plan, with a marketing plan of different goal and milestones in order for you to do that, and you just got to follow it and execute on it, right? But if you don't have that vision and goal, and you're just kind of just running through the numbers and going through it, a lot of times you're going to get stagnant and not be able to expand on your business. So the big thing is, a lot of these franchises are looking for the executive model where you are the business owner, you are the CEO, and you are hiring salespeople, you are hiring technicians and other people. But there's a lot of people that go into it where they still want to be like the E-Myth revisited, right? Michael Gerber. They still want to be the technician versus the owner of the company, right? And so that will limit you on how successful you will be in your business, because if you're the technician, you're not looking at marketing, you're not looking at sales, you're just getting the work done, and you don't have that overarching vision of how your business should grow. So that's one of the things that does stop people.
I mean, I think that that's in any business for sure. Like even with my clients, we create a plan and we create like goals, and it's like, okay, so this is an event because we want to create this event to then promote this product, to then get this amount of leads. We want to have these opt-ins, these freebies to get leads. And so I think when people are just in the actions without like setting their goals and figuring out how to like unfold that and break down like what are the actionable steps, people always are like, oh, I want more sales. And it's like, okay, well, what are you doing to generate that? And how many is more? Like, how do we say that, is you could get more, you can get one. Is that going to be sufficient? So, I mean, I think that like really having set goals in any business is super important. And then breaking that down of like, if you want 100, new clients at the end of the year, are you going to break that down monthly? And then what is it going to take to get those new clients, and like how long are you going to work with those clients? Like there's so many different components that are very important for any business to kind of have. And then like you said, you can't just focus on one area. There is marketing, there's sales, there's operations, there's all of these different components when it comes to entrepreneurship. And those people that want a system that's built in, I think, franchising is great because you do have those components kind of written up in a manual. And some of the businesses you're saying are providing like weekly coaching, which I think, anybody that I know that's really successful has a coach in some
Oh, yeah.
area of their life.
I wouldn't have found the success that I have without the coaches I hired to help me get to that next level. Because there's certain aspects of business, of attaining goals and things like that, of blind spots in my life that I just didn't know that stopped me from attaining those goals. And coaches provide you with that. Think about top athletes. They have coaches to help them get to the next level. Same thing in business ownership. You can't do it yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely all of the coaches that I've hired have, you know, excelled the rate of like growth that I
Mhm.
would have had without having that information. And it's kind of like setting up a structure. Like, so, when I'm like working with clients, I've set up a structure that works, that it's like we go through this process, we get you to where you want to go, we break down what it is that you want to create, and then we implement those marketing strategies. And like, business coaches, and I have tons of clients that are coaches as well. And then another thing too is that there's a sense of accountability when you have to get on that phone call. You were telling me the other week, you're like, you're gonna scold me because I didn't do my homework.
I know. But that goes into play of like, okay, am I working in my business or working on my business, right? And I find myself doing that. A lot of times I get so overwhelmed because I'm working in my business and I'm not able to step back and really like, okay, what do I need to expand and work on my business, right? So what does it take? It takes resources, right? It takes capital to be able to hire the right people and things like that. So that's, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, like with growth, you always need to, figure out how you're gonna go to that next point. And of
Hmm.
course we need sales, but there's these components like people are like, oh, I'm gonna wait until I get a ton of sales and it's like to then do my marketing. And I'm like,
Hmm.
all right, well, you need to do your marketing yourself. And I know you need to carve out that time if you don't have the money to like afford to hire somebody, but that should be like a high priority because you can't have a ton of sales if you're sitting in your own house or your own office and nobody knows about you. So you
Hmm.
have to be leveraging other resources, like how you're, going to job fairs and working with different organizations to provide, their people with these opportunities. Like that's a source of marketing. If you didn't do that, you would be sitting in a
Yeah.
little silo by yourself and nobody would know and you could be so amazing. And so, there's
Hmm.
that component, working in and working on. And I think for all entrepreneurs, we should always carve out time when we're working on our business and growing it and implementing structures. And even as an entrepreneur that has started my own business without like a franchise structure, the concept of writing things down, creating that plan, creating that guidebook is super important. Just like what franchises do, having that guidebook, that playbook, procedures, how to do things. Right now I'm in a process of doing videos. So we have all of the procedures of what needs to get done daily for like all of our clients and for our business and for our different products. But I'm in the process now of creating little videos. So a video manual on how to do this. So it will be like the description on in the playbook that you can read,
Hmm.
and then there'll be the link that you can go to the video. If you don't understand what we're talking about, you go to the video and you'll see that. And so that's something that I'm working right now that I feel like is going to help my growth because, we have a team now. The more that we hire people, I don't want to have to sit there and train everyone. I want my
Yeah.
team members to be able to train people. And I want to have these resources that people are getting trained accurately because now they have the guidebook and then
Hmm.
they have the videos. And so I like that concept. And I think as entrepreneurs for our business, like, even if we started it without a franchise structure, really documenting that and then potentially creating your business into a franchise
Oh,
because
yeah.
you now created that book.
Absolutely. And that's that's what you find with very successful franchises. I mean, they started with just one person, right? One store or whatever it is. And a lot of times they decide to do franchising. And they're like, oh, I got to write everything down now. Well, it would have been a lot simpler if they just wrote it down in the beginning, right? And grew their business and stuff like that. So no, that's really great. No, that, and especially what you're doing with video and everything is, I'm on board with documentation, accountability, and the whole nine inch structure. It's huge. It's important because, if you're like me, I'm in my home office and it's just me. I have some staff outside virtually, but it's funny how you can just get sidetracked if you don't have those structures in place when you're just by yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And even some of my clients, I'm like, okay, write it down. And they're like, well, I have it here and I have it there. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome. So like, let's put it all in one place so
Uh-huh.
that, your team can go to this one place, because they're not going to know where in your head you put it in the drive, you put it in this Dropbox, you put it in,
Yeah.
all of these different things. I'm like, so let's put it in this one place. And also too, like, even for me, it's kind of like, it was a process to get everything out of my head. It's like, I know all of this stuff, but then trying
Hmm.
to tell my team, it's like, do they really know? I'm like, okay, it's here and it's there. And I'm telling them on meetings how to do something, and they're just like getting overwhelmed. And
Yeah, yeah. I have that with my staff as well. Because like in my mind, I'm like, okay, why don't you know this already? Like,
yeah,
why don't you just absorb my knowledge? But somebody smart told me, don't leave the success of your business to your memory, right? Because you're going to fail. There's so much that we can retain, and it's true. I have sometimes even just writing it down with a pencil and paper is a lot more effective for me than having this elaborate spreadsheet. It works, especially as you have a lot of things going on. But sometimes I just need to write that thing down just to ingrain it in my memory.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I use Asana as a tool. You know that. I
Hmm.
use Google Drive, but there's so many different tools. But like, I'll write things down, but then I always want to have it up in like
Oh,
my
absolutely.
calendar and have it detailed so that my team knows what's going on too. Because sometimes I'll write my client meeting notes in my notes on my computer, which they don't have
Hmm.
access to. And I'm like, yeah, it's in the notes. I just need you to go in there. Like, I'll share the notes with them,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
like all of my notes trying to like get it across to people.
Hmm. Oh, yeah. Asana is really, really nice and really organized. Helps you become very organized. So.
Yeah. So what are some of the last kind of tips that you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, so some of the tips, right? Um, the biggest thing really is to build a strong team. Whether that be your team advisors, um, your whether that be a coach or just be colleagues, right? That you can just lean on to be able to ask advice. I love being able to reach out to you and just getting advice on specific things and stuff like that, right? But if you don't do that and you're trying to grow a business and who you have around you are just maybe your family members or friends that don't have a lot of success in business ownership, or maybe have a lot of criticisms and things like that, you're just going to peak at a certain level, right? So surround yourself with very smart people. That's huge. Um, and then another thing is when it comes to business ownership, right? Like I say specifically in franchising, is just get as much information as you can, right? Talk to a franchise broker, do the research online, do whatever you can to get all the information you need. But you got to realize that there's going to be a certain level where a certain percentage of where you have to take that leap of faith, and you got to really look inside your gut. Is it the risk really worth it? Is the long-term goals that I have, are they so strong and clear to me that this risk is definitely worth it? And that's the type of deep thinking you got to do when you start going to business ownership versus, oh, I just want to, be rich and make it rain.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny. People think like, oh yeah, like you're so lucky, like, oh my God, like, you get to do whatever you want to do when you want to do it. And it's like, yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
But I don't get to turn off the clock at 5 o'clock. I
Yeah.
don't get to stop my life. Like, it's like if work needs to get done, I'm up till 2 in the morning getting things done. If a team member gets sick and their work gets dropped, like,
Hmm.
some that needs to be rearranged and put on to other team members so that we're not letting our clients down. So there's so many of these different factors that it's not about just getting rich and making it rain, because there is a lot of risk, and
Yeah.
you are working super hard in the beginning. I mean, you're working hard all the time, but hopefully you get to the place where you can scale and not have to be doing as much.
Yeah. I like to call it being able to live life on your own terms and having the time freedom to say, hey, I want to wake up at a certain time and I want to walk my dog at a certain time. Yes, I'm going to be working a lot, and because it's ingrained in me to have my business be successful. But there's just something so amazing about the work I put out is mine. It's my baby, right? It's like its success is dependent on me and my team and everything like that, right? Versus when I would burn the midnight oil writing proposals for my sales job, for the last company I worked with. It's not as, that wasn't as exciting, if you will. So yeah, living life on your own terms and being able to have that time freedom to say where I'm going to focus my time and energy, I think is one of the biggest things, the greatest awesome things about being a business owner.
Yeah, for sure. Now I'm like, oh, so I want to go to Mexico and I'm going to spend like 2 weeks there.
Hmm.
People see like just the pictures of like the beach and whatnot. They're not seeing the times where I'm like at the hotel or at the Airbnb,
Hmm.
sitting there working all day when it's like beautiful. But sometimes I get to sit out by the pool and like work there, and
Yeah,
it'd be in warm weather. So it's definitely great to like have ability to be flexible and things like that. But it definitely is a commitment, and it takes a certain kind of person to go out there and go after it. It's not just for somebody that wants to just get rich, because that's just not how it works.
yeah. A funny little story is that when I proposed to my fiance, surprise trip. We went to Paris, and proposed to her at the Chocadero overlooking the Eiffel Tower. But I was definitely that guy, like on the airplane at the airport, still talking to my clients, closing deals, things like that, sending emails even that morning before I propose. But it was like, hey, I'm in Paris. It's like I got to dictate where I get to work and when I work and stuff like that. Things are still happening, but I did have that freedom.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's an awesome feeling. So I have a fun question that I ask all of my guests. If you could be a superhero, what would your two superpowers be?
What would my two superpowers be? Um, that's a good question. I think Superman. Um, I I would, I always have this recurring dream of me flying. It's really weird, but not flying in a way of just like having the power to go fly. It's more like, how flying squirrels just glide.
Yeah.
I always have that weird dream. I don't know what it is. So I would say Superman so I can actually fly, right? And then obviously the strength to be able, and everything that Superman has. So that's a
So
good question.
fly and to have strength.
Yeah, that's it. So disregard the flying squirrel thing.
Mine are to fly and to speak every language in the world.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Yeah,
So
that's
then I
really
can go
unique.
places and I can communicate with everyone.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really powerful. Very
Well, I
cool.
wanna thank you so much for being on here. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, the best way really is to reach out. Go to my website, veteransfranchisegroup.com. And I have there's on each page, there's a button where you can schedule a time to talk to me. But on that website, really great videos showing my backgrounds, but also the process of learning how to start a franchise is on that website. So feel free to go on there and schedule a time for us to talk.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on here. Everyone, be sure to go and connect with Gilbert if you're interested in starting a franchise. If you are a veteran or not, he does work with non-veterans as well. And be sure to subscribe to Brand Boutique Elite on any podcast of your choice. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Verana.